performance anxiety in life because I'm very much was raised as a performer, entertainer type, made my living off it oftentimes, and that performance piece in my life wants to come back every once in a while. It does with you too. When you're going to go to a gathering or you put in charge of something or you want to do something and you're like, I bet you guys felt it, Bill and Deb, even with this. I hope it's going to be okay, right? I hope Henry's going to be like, I hope it's going to work out fine. And there is no mistakes in the aspect of community helping, you know? So the candle fell out. Well, get the lighter and do something, you know? Instead of going to look at Bill. Debbie, you know, that's not the way it is. And that's what community is. And so to be able to begin it at the very beginning, my performance anxiety started to take over even before we even began. After a couple Sundays, it was really awesome. And I sat down with Mike Speakman and we were having breakfast one day. And he told me, he says, hey, just so you know, Henry, you're not starting anything. You're not, and I'm like, yes, I am. He goes, no, you're not. You're not starting anything. He says, you're just stepping into what is already occurring. And that's a powerful revelation, that you're stepping into what is already occurring. And that aspect of it is that when you step into what is already occurring, then you are participating in God's divine nature. If there's any goal in life that we ought to have, or any purpose, it's to participate. And the reason why I'm writing it down is because it's going to mess with the video camera. No, I'm just kidding. So in any treatment that goes on in your life or any spiritual life, and you think about helping and giving, and they say that's the best way to be in recovery in that aspect of it, there's a deeper meaning and a deeper spiritual meaning to that whole aspect of it. It's not because it's a good thing. It's not because it reminds you you're not as big as you think you are. It's not because it's to destroy your ego. It's to remind you that you are participating in something that is so far greater than yourself, and you're not alone, by participating in God's divine nature. So if I wanted to just use a style and the presentation and the words and put together this marketing team, I could soak you for many dollars. That's my ego working right there. And I could create tapes and books and this kind of thing and make it all about what we have in here that is so good that other people need. Let's sell it. And let's just give them a little bit and draw them in. You know? Let's convince them that there's a secret that we have, and if only they would believe it. If only they would believe it. That's the first step. If I can convince you to believe something without telling you what it is, and it's a mystery, and yet you can be a part and a sense of belonging, now you're in. Now if I can rev up the feelings to go with it, whoo, I got you. I got you. And you know what? That's religious addiction. That's worship. That's worship without the spirit. It's worship in the soul. When we talk about body, soul, and spirit. It's the soul being quiet. It's the spiritual life is teaching the soul, which is the emotions, thoughts, and feelings, or the ego, or the self, which is it's a beautiful thing, but it's causing the spirit to quiet the soul. So I put music on and create an atmosphere, and that I chose some soothing music for a particular reason this morning, and it creates that atmosphere. Now, if I associate, oh, I'm experiencing God, or I'm experiencing God's presence or whatever, and it's connected to the music, that's the soul. But if I recognize what I'm doing is I'm quieting the soul to be in a position to listen to the Spirit, which is truth, now we're on to something. Okay? So if I this Valentine's Day, if somebody is going to, we all all the single people love Valentine's Day. And by the way, this is a day for all of us who are single to celebrate our singleness. Now, I don't mean that to be mean to married people. I don't. I really want to emphasize, there is a stigma attached to us celebrating being single and all that comes with that, because it sounds like it's minimizing marriage. Am I not right? But unless we understand that even Paul said, look, if you find a spouse, you found a good thing. That's awesome. But if you stay single in the work that you're trying to do, you've done even better. He wasn't trying to say marriage is bad. What he was saying is it can be a distraction in a very difficult way of living. The struggle is the loneliness part. I'm diverting from this for a minute because I just realized it's Valentine's Day. That's okay. Because I think that's really important. Because if we don't do that and celebrate that aspect of either being single or being married, you guys already know in relationship, that are in relationship, Valentine's Day is a day to celebrate your relationship. We don't have to tell you that. Just go do it. Okay? Go to Zales. I don't care. Do what you got to do. But why ought you not celebrate the idea that you're single? And that we are learning, all of us, whether you are together in a relationship or not, learning to go through the suffering of loneliness, right? Because it's like now, all front and center, you're alone. All these red hearts, bursting on the commercials and everything. You're alone, loser. Oh, this commercial's not for you. This is for lovers spending money. So you can go ahead and go to the bathroom during this commercial break. Okay? And that's what we get told in that message inside of ourselves, unless we start to recognize that loneliness needs to transform into a solitude. And that's what this is saying in this aspect of it. Otherwise, we're not going to know how to be together when we're together. If being together becomes the focus of your life, you don't know how to be alone. And if you are alone and think you need to be with somebody in order to be content, that you don't know how to be together. You're going to burden them with you. And they're going to take the attention and the power. Is that not true? So this ought to be a day that we recognize both the beauty of relationship and solitude and oneness with God. I mean, listen to this. Slowly we can become aware of the possibility of making our human encounters. And by the way, this is Thomas Merton, who came to this realization when he was sitting and watching people. The way that I like to do, go to a coffee place and watch people, or laugh at people, or whatever, however you want to do it, But you become an observer of that around you. And then you even become an observer of things that you don't necessarily like, but that you allow them in. And so slowly we can become aware of the possibility of making our human encounters into moments by which our solitude grows and expands itself to embrace. How crazy is that? That's crazy talk. Our solitude grows and expands itself to embrace more and more people into the community of our life. It indeed is possible for all those who we stayed with for a long time, or for only a moment, to become members of that community, since by their encounter in love, all the ground between them and us has indeed become holy ground. That's why this feels holy. That's why this feels holy. And that's why sometimes you can go into a gathering where it doesn't feel like that. You feel like you're on the fringe. You feel like there's unspoken rules that you're not abiding by. Right? It's almost like you have to have a 3-hour orientation just to attend the meeting. But to have a gathering where people say, just come on in, you're welcome. And that's that word agapao, the welcoming love. Well, when we do that by ourselves, when we do that alone and we do that with God, when we have that aspect of loneliness, all of a sudden move into solitude. See, we want to bail out our loneliness before we end up getting into the solitude. We start to tend to think, what is wrong with me? What have I done wrong? What are my past experiences? Why is God abandoning me? And the whole time he's saying, I want to be here. Yeah, that's really great. I don't really know what to experience with you. You don't like go have coffee with me and hug me and get me something from Zales, And God is like, is that really what you want out of a God? Because you can get that anywhere. You can conjure that up anywhere. And if you don't find that, you can pay for a reasonable facsimile, and that's illegal. I'm talking truth now. We will do anything we can to rescue us from our experiences of loneliness, when in reality our feelings and our emotions are just a response and a reaction to something. They aren't our reality. And that's what ends up happening in life of addiction. And when I say life of addiction, I mean for all humankind, not for the isolated or the poor soul that chose something that was so visible. We don't learn until later on down the way that when we isolated people in their behavior, what was bothering us, it wasn't so much that they were sinning, it was we were asking them to sin quietly like the rest of us. Don't show it. To that teenager who gets pregnant at the Christian school, and they would move her out of the school. It's like, dang, this girl sinned. Yeah, we're all sinners, but she's showing. And we don't want that to ruin our reputation. A real community says, well, okay, I guess we're having a baby in this community. Oh, how dare you glorify it? How dare you not allow her to be in the glory of God? Because we're all in the same place, all of us. And until we recognize that, we won't be able to recognize the holy ground that we're on in the midst of each other. We learn to be alone by being with others, and we learn how to be with others by being alone. But if we constantly are trying to extricate ourselves from a relationship, or we're trying to find one, then we're not really living. We're not really living. To some, which would be all of us, those can be harsh words, because we want the easy way. And we think, you know what, if I had this, then I would be able to accomplish that. If I had this much money, I wouldn't have my same problems that causes me to envy. If I had enough money, I would be... You tell me, if you had enough money, would you be emotionally and spiritually in a place to be able to handle what you said you could do with that money? Probably not. So there is no cost to sitting in that loneliness and allow it to become solitude, and to be stunned by what Thomas Merton said when he was watching people. My gosh, I am a part of what I see and where I am. You say, well, Henry, what about my fear of groups and my social anxiety? Well, just be an observer as a participant. There's nothing wrong with accepting where you're at and still showing up and observing and seeing. I know that there are people who maybe aren't as gregarious and out there, way out there, as me and some others in this room. There's others who are more fringy, off to the side. Some are quiet and in the middle. Some just go with the flow. Why become any one of the other ones that you're looking at and think that it's better? Because everyone is bringing something in there, but showing up is the greatest part. And being in that. In our awkwardness, we validate the other awkwardness in somebody else. Right? If we have to wait until we have it all together, what about the people that are showing up in their awkwardness? They need validation. Show up and be a knucklehead so that they go, God, thank God, that's me too. And in that aspect of it, that's when we begin to use our loneliness to recognize that this is only a temporary condition that is trying to teach me a long-term solution in that understanding of solitude and moving into that. So there's my little beginning Valentine's Day thingy. All right? Yes?
On our refrigerator we have at home, it says, we may not have it all together, but together we have it all.
And all you have to do, if you've never been married before, just go ask a married couple if you can feel lonely in a marriage. Okay? You can find loneliness wherever you go. If the condition within you is not welcomed and accounted for and letting God pour into you. Okay? We're trying to satisfy the soul instead of being driven by the Spirit of truth and have the soul go, that's what I was longing for all of my life. That's what I was looking for. You know, it's being able to love somebody not from a distance, but not as ownership. Okay, so when we are in relationship where they become, I don't even understand the term love of my life. Does that mean that there is no other love? It kind of scares me a little bit. But anyway, he's the love of my life. Well, who's the hate of your life? I'm curious. I want to know what the hate of your life is. So when you are obsessing on relationship and that aspect of it, you can't be like that because you can't see them. There's distance. You have to have some distance. Okay, when you're watching everything they do, everything they said, what other people are thinking of me, all that aspect of it, right? And then there's some that one is doing that and the other one's not. Now you're like this. Okay, so you're like this, and it's frustrating. Why can't you obsess on me the way I'm obsessing on you? This is so miserable, you know. But when you begin to recognize that you're both witnesses to an incredible life. You know, it's the little drummer boy syndrome. Okay? Do you see what I see? Are you witnessing what I'm witnessing? Did you just see that? That's incredible. And you become participants in this world together this way, and that's the goal. That's why it's so difficult with step families and blended families. It's hard. Why? It's because the biological parent's loving the children and the other person is longing. And so it's understandable because that person, and then this person saying, you should love them. Why? I don't even know them. Let them be friends. Let them love that you love them. And you know, that's a whole nother aspect of it. We can't learn those things unless we understand the intimacy with God first. And our sense of belonging and our identity. Okay, so back to the wild goose thing. So there were those who might not have been, why a wild goose? It's because the Celtic Christians, they saw the Holy Spirit not so much as a dove as the symbol, but a wild goose. This wildness, this untamable animal that is glorious when it's flying in synchronicity with the other geese, and they're loud and obnoxious. That fit us more. And yet when one is down, when one is sick, one or two might be there. The other ones don't stop. They keep flying in formation, and instead of everybody coming down, they nurture that one until they catch up and fly with. We tend to hold back, don't we? It's not okay for me to have joy and be whole and be free. I can't do that if somebody I love isn't. So I'll just go with them and do what they're doing. Tell me that hasn't happened before, right? No, you move forward as God is calling you and have them catch up. And if they don't, it's out of your hands, you know. But we move into that together. That's the nature of the wild goose. Okay, so now in switching gears, I really wanted to have a Q&A. Because we haven't done that in here this whole time, of just having, I've been teaching for a long time, but what are some questions that have arisen in your mind, whether about God or about faith, about Christianity, about religion, about these times, whatever it is that kind of like catches you and pulls you back a little bit, and if I understood this a little bit better, it might be a little bit easier for me to give myself to this mystery that we call God in that aspect of it. So I'm going to put the entire place and just have a conversation on the spot and just say, okay, here it is, yes.
Did you say the Celtic Christians
Yes.
came up with the?
Yeah.